In this tutorial, we're going to learn how to smash the subscribe button as programmers. You can see here we have a nice red subscribe button, and when we're clicking on it, this will happen. Look at that, how nice, we actually smashed the subscribe button. Alright, let's learn how to do this. Oh, by the way, if you haven't already, smash the subscribe button underneath this video. Alright, let's see how we can build this. The first thing we're going to need is the SVG, which will kind of have everything we want. It will have the smashed piece together, also the text, and also the rectangular, which will remain after we clear out the smashed pieces. So let me paste this in. I have this SVG created by my friend Nitin, so thank you Nitin for doing it. What I did on top of it, you can see now that we have this rectangular, which is, well, with rounded corners, and you can see that it's basically created for a couple of paths. These paths are the broken pieces, and I grouped them in the G's so that we can target it in JavaScript. I also added this rectangular, which is that gray subscribe kind of button which remains. And on top I added the text. As you can see now it doesn't look right, so we're going to style it. Also, one thing that I did is to increase the width, the height, and change the view box just a bit, so we have spaces for the pieces to fall off. Let me show you what I mean. So if we do SVG border 2 pixel solid black, you can see that this is basically the SVG, and the pieces here we're going to fall, and we can see them falling while they are inside this viewport. Okay, now let's style it a bit. So I'm going to import the font we're going to use, which is Roboto. It's from Google Fonts, and let's use it on the body. Font family, Roboto sans serif, like that. Alright, now in the SVG I also added a class for the text so we can target it. So let's do that text, and I kind of want it to be color white, right? Yeah, so color doesn't work. Why? Well, because in SVG we have fill and stroke. We don't have color, so this needs to be fill white. Alright, I want it to be font size 20 pixels, text transform uppercase, and also I kind of don't want it to be selected, so we're going to remove the user select. Alright, like that, because basically what we're going to do is to click this G parent, which is basically the parent of everything. When we're clicking this, then we'll have the animation starting. Now, let's also center it in the middle of the screen, so we can do that with display flex, align it to center, justify content center, min height, of 100 viewport heights, and margin 0. And now it should be kind of in the center. Well, you can see that the box is in the center, but if we remove the border here, the button won't really be in the center. So for that, let's add a margin top of 200 pixels, just so we can kind of see it in the center, right? Although now it's not, but we can see the pieces falling here. Good. Now, something else that we want is whenever we hover over this button, I want it to be cursor pointer. And for that we have that main, which we're going to use in JavaScript, and here we can say cursor pointer. So now whenever we hover over the button, so not over the SVG, but over the button, we have that cursor pointer. Good. So that's almost everything we need in SVG. We're going to add a transition later, but for now let's move to the JavaScript part. So basically what we want, here we have all these pieces, and we want to get all the pieces, and whenever we click this button, we want to change their position. we want to translate them somewhere else. And we're going to add an animation, well, a transition, and then they will be like falling off, right? So in order to do that, we're going to need the main document get element by ID main. This will be basically our button, right? We're going to click on this. We're going to use this to add an event listener. Click, and here we're going to do the the animation, which is kind of not really the animation in JavaScript, but we're going to change their position, and then with the CSS property we're going to transition it to create the animation. Hopefully it will make sense in a bit. And also what we want are all the pieces. So basically we want all these G's, right? Which are the childrens of this main. Let's call it GS because they're multiple. I don't know. I didn't know what name to give them. And here we can say query selector. By the way, we're using the main. So we're going inside the main, and inside that we want all of the G's, right? And here we can loop over them. So for each, and here we can call them G. And now we want a couple of things. So we want to change its left positioning and its top positioning. And we can do that inside the transform property. Yeah, so that sounds a bit off. So let me show you how. We're going to take the G, we're going to style the transform property. And here we're going to use translate. So the translate method, which takes in two values. The value on the X axis and on the Y axis. So horizontally and vertically. For now, let's just place a fixed number, and then we're going to randomize this. So let's use something like 100 pixels and 100 pixels. Well, let's leave it like this, so we can see what happens. And now, when we click on it, it should move somewhere around here. So 100 pixels to the right and 100 pixels to the bottom. Look at that, see? So basically, we're moving all the pieces the same amount, so it kind of looks like we're moving the button. But now let's randomize these values, and you can see that we're going to have the falling, smashing effect. So I'm going to need an X value, which will be, let's say, math.random. We want the number to be between -100 and +100. So for that, we're going to multiply this by 200. So now we get a number from 0 to 200. And in order to have a number from -100 to 100, we're going to just subtract 100. And because, well, in JavaScript we can add pixels at the end. So basically this now will give us a random pixel value from -100 to 100. And for the Y part, well, we basically don't want -100 here. We want a number from, let's say, 0 to 300. And same the pixels. And now we can swap this out because we used template literals. And here we can say X, oops, and this should be Y. And here should be Y. And now, if we did everything correctly, we should see the pieces breaking apart. So let's click and look at that. They are broken. You can see we have 4 pieces. The reason why we didn't see the animation is, well, because we don't have. So let's go here, and for every G inside, well, actually we need it here, main G, we want to have a transition. We're going to transition the transform property for, let's say, 1 second, and we want to use animation timing function. All right, let's see now how this looks. We kind of need to refresh this, so let me remove a code and add it back. Okay. Changing the CSS won't refresh the code then. All right, let's see if this works now. We kind of have 5 pieces. I guess 1 piece was off the screen. But yeah, you can see that it kind of falls, right? And it goes random places. One thing, let's add opacity, because we want them to fade out also. So this could go to 0. And by default it's 1, and we also want to transition that property. So opacity, maybe let's do 1.3 seconds, so it will take longer and in a linear fashion. All right, let's see how this looks. Look at that, pretty nice. Now, there are a couple of things left to do. So basically we kind of have the smashing effect. Let's add a sound. And also let's change this text. Whenever we click it, we want to change it to subscribed, right? Because if you click the button, you are subscribed. Okay, I guess let's do the text first. So before this loop, let's change the text. Now we need to target it, so const text will be main query, so pretty much what we did here, but instead of query selector all, we only need a text. So let's use a text. We have a class, so we can use that. And actually, you know what, we can pretty much put it here. All right, good. And now for the text, we want the text inner HTML to be, well, subscribed, right? When we click this button, it will change the text to subscribed. Let's see how that works. All right, that's kind of good, but you can see that it doesn't really look like it's centered anymore because, well, the text is kind of has a fixed X and Y. So in order to center it, let's move it back a bit. Well, move it to the left. Text style transform. And we want it to translate if I could type, on the x-axis. So here we're translating both properties, x and y, but here we can, well, if you need, you can only translate one. And let's move it back 7 pixels. This is what I found to be kind of centered. So let's take a look now. We click this, and now it's changed to subscribed. Pretty good. And for the last part, let's add some sound. Okay, I have here the audio file, so I'm going to paste it in HTML. We have the audio file here, the source, and also I have an audio with an ID of audio, right? And now we need to target that. So const audio will be document get element by ID audio. And pretty much what we need to do is to play the audio when we click the button, right? All right, and let's see how that looks. Yeah, it has a bit of a delay because the sound is not perfect, so it's not starting exactly when we click it, or it might load harder. So what we can do, like a small trick, is to delay this using a set timeout. And we're going to call this function after 300 milliseconds. And we're going to place everything here inside. So we're just giving it a bit of a time to, after the audio is starting, to do the animation. So now it should kind of be at the same time. Yeah, you can see almost. Also, let me put this text inside. Yeah, this is kind of a trickery. I don't really like it, but yeah. I couldn't find exactly how to make it work on the same time. So it's a hack we're good to have, I guess. And let's remove this border now. All right, and yeah, that's kind of it. The only thing now is that you have to refresh to, well, have the animation running again. So let me save this. All right, and now we can see, well, we have our red button, and whenever we click it, we get the sound, we get the smash effect, and we get pretty much everything. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I had a lot of fun creating it. Let me know if you liked it. Give it a like if you did, and also subscribe if you haven't for more tutorials like this. I wish you a great day. Bye!